week, and I'll be doing this every week. I should have been doing it all year. You guys have the right to not just know the 12 that I do on TikTok each week, but my top 30 each week. And I do that for my subscribers on YouTube. Now I'm doing it live on TikTok because this is going live on YouTube, TikTok, and X right now. And again, I appreciate all you guys' support, but I think you guys have the right to know my top 30 each week for free. And all you got to do is subscribe to my YouTube to get that each week. So we'll go right into it. Make sure you sub in here. I won't be answering any TikTok questions on this live specifically because I'm going to just go over the rankings, and this will be posted on YouTube for after. So as you can see right there, full positional top 30 for week 14. So again, I post the top 14 on, or the top 12 on my TikTok each week. And I'm just going to go on. So I'm making sure that everybody can hear me. I'm going to go live on, I'm going to check with my Cold Up Confessions page, make sure that you guys can see me. Let's hear. Yep. All right. You guys can see me. Great. Okay. Cool. Cool. Alrighty. So I'm going to go over each one. Jahmyr Gibbs obviously playing a Dallas run defense that doesn't rank too high this season. Now they're better against the run the last few games, but Jahmyr Gibbs, since they got Quinnen Williams, so Jahmyr Gibbs is still in that situation where he can really win you a fantasy matchup by himself, right? Like that's number one. Let me actually do it like this. Yeah, that's way better. And let me just make this a little, let's see, customize ratio myself a little smaller so you guys can see. Cool. Let me put this out a little bit right there. That should be perfect. Yeah, so you guys can see it like that. That way my face isn't so small because I know you guys love to see my face. No, I'm obviously kidding. Devon Achane going up against the Jets. That one seems obvious. Devon Achane has been a one-man wrecking crew for Miami the last 6 weeks, so I'm not going to go too much into this because I explain it on my TikTok. And if you haven't seen those videos on TikTok yet, make sure you go to TikTok to see that as well. James Cook against Cincinnati has an argument to be won this week. Cincinnati has the worst run defense in all in football. So I do think that James Cook probably could have another, he's could have 200 plus yards and 2 touchdowns. It's certainly possible. But the Bills can pass this game because Cincinnati is such a terrible pass defense as well. So I don't know if Cook will have the rushing yards as much as the rushing touchdowns, which he should have in this game. Bijan Robinson against Seattle. I think that one's obvious. Seattle has one of the best run defenses in football, but it's Bijan Robinson. Obviously, his utilization as a pass catcher makes him lethal every single week. Jonathan Taylor going up against Jacksonville. Tough matchup. That's why he's to 5th. I mean, the last few games have been a little rough for Taylor, not accustomed to what we have seen from the start of the year for him the last few weeks. So I do believe that, Jacksonville is a brutal matchup for him. I think he's going to struggle immensely. Truly, I do. Let me just go and pull up this right here. Yeah, I mean, Jacksonville's number 1 against the rush in the league. I wanted to confirm before I gave you guys a stat. I assumed they were first in the league against the run, and that Seattle was 2, New England was 3, and Houston was 4. But I didn't know if that order was a little mixed up. Bucky Irving going up against New Orleans. Him or Chase Brown. Obviously, in the video, I have Chase Brown there. I should probably switch that, actually. I'm going to switch these two. Go right here. I don't know why that wasn't updated on there because on my TikTok, I have Chase Brown there and I have Breece Hall after Bucky Irving. So that's how it should look on all of your platforms if you have seen the videos on TikTok about that. Again, we're streaming live on YouTube, TikTok, and X, and you can see this video on YouTube be posted right after. Sometimes it takes like a weird hour to process. Maybe my Wi-Fi just sucks, but it should be available pretty much right away. But I wanted to go live as well to go over my full positional rankings. 6, Chase Brown going up against Buffalo. Chase Brown has averaged 19 fantasy points per game the last 4 games, right? Like, this guy is balling. He's been a top 8 receiver or running back. He's been great at catching the football so far this season as well. I truly think that he can. Buffalo, remember, their run defense can be exploited. They have the 30th ranked run defense in all of football this season. Okay. Breece Hall going up against Miami. Well, we have Bucky Irving first. Let's go through Bucky Irving against New Orleans. New Orleans against the run, if you want to look up the advanced stats, 21st against the run. So they have a brutal run defense, not that good. And Bucky did get a touchdown last week. And a lot of people were trying to say, oh, he's going to have a snap count. Wasn't really much of a snap count. It was the first drive, and then he was out there, right? Brees Hall going up against Miami. Miami's a middle of the pack run defense. I almost have this memorized. I believe well, they're not middle of the pack. Don't have that memorized. They're 29th. I could swear Miami was 17th against the run. No, they're 17th against the pass. Completely different. 29th against the run. So Brees Hall should have a pretty big game, and I think this game's going to be very close. Quinshon Judkins going up against Tennessee. Tennessee has the 22nd ranked run defense in terms of yards per game. They've given up even more fantasy points to opposing running backs. I like what he can do this week. Derrick Henry, of course, against Pittsburgh. I think I have Derrick Henry at 7. I might actually have him at 7. I don't know why I didn't update this list because Pittsburgh just gave up 250 yards last week. I think, call me crazy, I think the list goes like that. Pretty sure. I think it's actually Bucky 8, Brees 9, Quinshon 10, Josh Jacobs 11, Kyron Williams 12. So I do think those are the guys I'm going with this week. Jeez, I'm delirious all of a sudden. This year. I mean, the year is almost up for fantasy football. By the way, I hope all of you guys made your fantasy playoffs and all that stuff. And feel free to DM me, on TikTok, YouTube, whatever, comment. If you need any advice or anything, I'll try and reach out to everybody I can that follows me. I think that's fair. Like if you follow me or sub to my YouTube, like I will try to respond. But if you're not following me, I mean, there's no incentive for me to help you at the very least. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that's a fair order of business. And again, you could just use me as, a second opinion. If you've talked to other people or other creators, I mean, you don't have to see my advice as the be all end all. It's just, using metrics, using matchups, data, all that stuff. Just a second opinion before you make a decision in a pivotal week. So again, I'm not going to go through Quinshon. We already went Quinshon. Derrick Henry. Pittsburgh gave up 250 rushing yards last week. Like Derrick Henry's going to have a pretty big game. Jacobs, Chicago's run defense isn't superb. It's 28th, so like he should have 2 touchdowns. I don't know how much he's going to do on the ground. Should have one of his better games this season, but I still have him 11th. Kyron going up against the middle of the pack Arizona run defense. Okay, now we get into the ones that matter. Okay, and we start with RJ Harvey at 13. RJ Harvey has a really good matchup against Vegas. Vegas's run defense isn't horrible. It's actually 15th, but you have to look at the snap percentage that Harvey has had the last few weeks and the touchdown and red zone snap percentage, and it's close to top. It's up there with elite RB1s. So I do expect him to have a very good game, in a game that I think Denver is going to control the entire way. I think it'll be, Denver ahead, which means they're going to run the football the entire game. I could see 20 carries for Harvey. I know they use McLaughlin a little bit. They use some other backs, Beatty. They use all those guys, right? But Harvey's the undisputed one with Dobbins out for the year. Javonte Williams against Detroit tonight. Very, very tough matchup in the sense of this might be like a passing game shootout, but Javonte, I think, has a pretty good game to finish top 14. I don't think it's a hot take to say one of the 10 best PPR running backs this year finishes minimum top 14. Here's where I get into a little bit of like the mix. I love ETN. Last week was a brutal game for him. He should have had a great game. He was horrible. But 2 weeks ago and 3 weeks ago, he was incredible. So typically when ETN has a bad game and Tootin gets a touchdown, everyone picks up Ashal Tootin, and then ETN has like 2 or 3 touchdowns and Tootin does nothing the following week. Indianapolis, their run defense is good, right? Like they're 7th. I do think ETN and that offensive line for Jacksonville can still control the game a little bit and take some pressure off of Trevor Lawrence because their pass defense is so bad. If Trevor can just get the ball downfield a little bit, it'll open up some running lanes for ETN. And remember, ETN is also a very good pass catcher, good with the ball in his hands. Kenneth Walker, also a start for me this week, going up against Atlanta. Love what he can do. Atlanta has one of the worst run defenses in football, one of the best pass defenses, but one of the worst run defenses. So I like what Atlanta can do on a weekly basis, especially against the run. James Pierce has been nasty. I know they traded the first, and they're going to get screwed for that because the Rams will probably win a Super Bowl and have a top 10 pick, which is annoying. But yeah, he's good. Saquon Barkley against the Chargers. don't love it. Like, I haven't loved Saquon all year. I told you guys to fade Saquon preseason, and I got a lot of hate for it, but no RB1 has even come close to repeating in a long time. Well, Christian did, but McCaffrey's like another breed. Anytime McCaffrey's healthy, he's top 3 in fantasy PPR because of the pass catching. But besides him, no one's even come close to repeating as the RB1. Especially if you get 400 plus touches. So McCaffrey is probably, unfortunately, a fade next year because he's gotten like 400 plus touches this year. He's on pace for that. Jalen Warren against Baltimore again. Not a match. Once we get into the 18 to 30, these are guys right on the cusp. Like 18 to 25 are like barely starts, kind of maybe sit them. And then past 25, I wouldn't even touch them with the 10-foot. You know what I mean? I wouldn't get within 25 feet of these people. Like, that sounds weird. That sounds like it's like a policy. Like, you know what I mean by that? Like, oh, is a restraining order or something like that. Yeah, against these players because they haven't played well. Ashton Genty's never going to do anything. It's not his fault. He's a good running back, but why did they draft the running back before the offensive line? Very annoying. And Denver has an elite defense. So he's 30th. Bam Knight, 29th against the Rams. Don't love right now what he's doing. I mean, you got Trey Benson, who's probably back. Aaron Jones against Washington. He's questionable. Mason's probably the guy in that game, especially if they can get a lead. But remember, if they're behind, Jones's value goes up because he's a good pass catcher, and they don't utilize Mason as a pass catcher. Tootin going up against Indy, I could see a touchdown for him. That's why I put him at 27. Don't expect much from him. Kareem Hunt, don't expect much from a guy going up against the 4th-ranked Houston defense. He is a touchdown merchant, so he could get you 9 or 10 fantasy points on that touchdown alone and a few extra yards. Vidal is a pretty good matchup. Just kidding. He is Philadelphia. So, I mean, Philadelphia is great against the run. Like, Hampton, I don't think Hampton's going to play this week. I do think it's going to be Vidal again, but Hampton could play. I would still have Hampton in the 20 to 25 range. And I love him Ryan Hampton, but this is going to be a sloppy football game between two very good defenses. I think this is going to be a defensive game. 24 Blake Corum going up against Arizona. I love the matchup. I mean, he's getting more and more snaps each week. I think he's a solid dart throw flex. Like, people have been asking Isaac Tesla or Blake Corum. Like, I think both are solid flex plays this week. If you have guys on bye in a must-win situation, I think you got the upside of both of those guys. Charbonnet's gonna get a touchdown. It's just a matter of, like, what is the upside? Like, to me, Charbonnet's upside is 15 max fantasy points, but his floor is like 8. He'll get 8 at least. Devin Neal, I really like going up against Tampa. Tampa is one of the worst run defenses in all of football. Actually, what am I talking about? One of the worst pass defenses in all of football. But the reason why I like Devin Neal, and I just made a video about this, so I can't believe I forgot it for a sec, is because Devin Neal is an excellent pass catcher. And Tampa can't defend the pass. And I think there's going to be a lot of checkdowns to Devin Neal this game. They're trying to utilize him like the old Kamara, even though he's not half the player. I still like Devin Neal to have a pretty big game. And of course, DeAndre Swift going against Green Bay and Kyle Mond guy. Both very good players, tough matchup, right? So that's why I have them there. Let's go to the wide receiver part. And I'll try to be a little quicker with the wide receivers. Again, posted the top 12 on TikTok. Jamar Chase versus Buffalo is obvious. Like, Buffalo is a good pass defense, but Chase Brown's going to open up the play action for Joe Burrow in this game. I think it's going to be more of a shootout than people think. I think the Bills are going to completely have to go away from their game plan of running the football and controlling the clock, because the more they give this ball to Burrow, the uglier it's going to get for both sides. It'll be like a 35 to 35 game. I truly believe that, because everybody thinks it's going to be Buffalo by 10, holding the clock and the ball the entire game. Like, I think that's why it's going to go the complete opposite. CeeDee Lamb going up against Detroit. Detroit has a middle of the pack pass defense, and CeeDee's been so good. JSN versus Atlanta at 4. Love what JSN brings, but I have to penalize him a little bit. And I actually have JSN at 4 this week. I don't have him at 3. I don't know why I put him at again. I don't know why I don't update these lists before that. And Rice is actually behind Devontae Adams. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yes. Yeah. And then, Puka Nacua going up against Arizona, like I mentioned, great matchup. JSN versus Atlanta, another good matchup. I think he has a bounce back game. George Pickens versus Detroit. Of course, I have 2 top 5 receivers there for Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. Devontae Adams at 6. Touchdown merchant, but he gets touchdowns every game. So I feel like he needed to be top 6. Rice I put at 7 because Houston's a brutal matchup. 4th against the pass. in the league, fourth against the run. This is an elite defense. I don't know if Rice is going to be able to do much against that secondary, even though I love Rasheed Rice, which is why I still have him at 7. AJ Brown at 8 going up against the Chargers. Chargers have a great pass defense. They're ranked second. So it's going to be really difficult for Jalen Hurts to get him involved, but the targets should be there like they were last week. Smitty, I think, is more of like a sit than Brown this week, but one of them typically goes off each week. Well, some of them, sometimes none of them go off. Chris Olave going up against Tampa. Love that matchup. Jameson Williams Jameson Williams actually at 9. Again, don't know why I didn't update this, but Jameson Williams is actually at 9. Chris Olave is at 10. Jameson Williams going up against Dallas tonight. I mean, he should get 25 fantasy points. I know his production is typically cryptocurrency in the sense where 25 fantasy points are 0, but I really like him to get have a huge game tonight. I really do. Chris Olave going up against Tampa. I mean, Tampa, not a great pass defense, right? I mentioned that with why I think Devin Neal is a pretty good game, because the only guys they throw to are Chris Olave and Devin Neal. Sometimes Juwan Johnson, who might have a pretty good game too. Make sure you check out my tight end rankings coming out later today. Juwan Johnson will be a part of them because I like the matchup so much. Jalen Waddle at 11 going, well, again, this is the last time I'm changing this shit. I swear I don't understand why I put the rough draft version here, but whatever. Jalen Waddle at 12 going up against the Jets. Probably a bounce back game, but he was so bad last week. And Nico Collins is consistently getting 10 to 15 fantasy points. I want to see more, but Kansas City still has the 9th ranked pass defense. Now we'll go to the stuff that matters that people are on here for, which is my 13 through 30. And you see at the bottom of that list, Isaac Tesla is on this list. And I do see him as a fringe start. But there's somebody I like more that I don't feel like enough people are talking about. And that's AD Mitchell going up against Miami. No one can guard AD Mitchell. He's open every play. It's about whether he's dropping the football, whether they can get the ball to him downfield. Terod Taylor's been able to do that more so than Justin Fields. I like him against Miami as like a solid flex. Rome's always going to have upside against Green Bay. I think he's due for a bounce back game. Same with Igbuka. Igbuka is not playing well recently, but I do think he does have a big bounce back game against the New Orleans pass defense. That's not that great. They're 21st, right? Like, so I don't think that at the end of the day, oh, well, they're not 21st, actually. I think they're middle of the pack. Let me go to passing defense. I had rushing defense pulled up. I typically know it by heart, but let's see. Let me go back to passing yards per game. They're actually 7th. Well, I thought they were middle of the pack. So they are better than I thought, but it's not really going to matter because you have a quarterback like Baker's probably going to play, which means like Buka's probably going to get a few looks. There's always the scenario where Tez Johnson gets a bunch of looks or Shepard and then Igbuka doesn't get any looks. I mean, it's possible, but I think the upside is so vast that he deserves that ranking still just on what he did earlier in the season. Michael Pittman at 22 going up against Jacksonville. I mean, again, it's a dart throw. Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman, Josh Downs, like who's going to go off? You have a 30% chance that Pittman has 15 fantasy points. Not great, but it's also like, are you going to sit him? Jacksonville's run defense is great, but their pass defense is top, like toward the bottom of the league. Justin Jefferson at 21 against Washington. Not his fault. Quarterback. He single-handedly lost me a matchup last week, him and JSN. Pivotal matchup at that because he was doing cardio and it was Max Brosmer's fault. So even if JJ starts, I mean, you want JJ to start for the upside of Justin Jefferson, but I can't. I mean, he might have a bounce back game, but how can I put him that high if he literally got 1 fantasy point last week? DK Metcalf going up against Baltimore, expect a bounce back game. It doesn't matter who's at quarterback, whether it's Rodgers, whether it's Rudolph. Like, I think he has a bounce back game, especially with what's been said about him this week. Cortland Sutton going up against the Raiders. Raiders pass defense, again, we can go into it. They're 17th, like middle of the pack. The reason why I don't have Troy Franklin there, and I have Troy Franklin at 29, Alec Pierce at 28, those are dart throws as well because Bo Nix had double the targets to Troy Franklin than anybody else for 4 games. And then Troy Franklin gets half the targets as Cortland Sutton last game in a game where the Broncos actually scored a bunch of points, which is something they haven't done. So that's why I have Troy at 29. And again, the Mitchell or the Pierce and Pittman thing is it's just a dart throw. I'm basing it off of matchup alone, what coverages the defenses play. I think Pittman probably has a slightly better game than Alec Pierce. And again, I have Michael Pittman on this list twice. Why do I have Michael Pittman on this list twice? Don't know. Guess I have 29, guys. Guess we got to get a 30th. Let's see. I'll breeze through this, though. I don't know why he's that high on this list. we'll put in, I guess I'll put in, this is brutal. I know Keon scored a touchdown last week, but I guess we'll put in BTJ. I guess that seems fair. I don't love them. I mean, Jacoby's been so good. That's why I don't like the play here, but I'll put him at 30 behind Tesla, actually. He's got to earn it. Tesla, I think, has a clear shot at having a 20 fantasy point game tonight. I do. Especially if they try and double cover, Jameson Williams. Like, he's the guy that's probably going to go off. If we go down this list, okay, there's the Pittman 26, right? Okay, there's the real Michael Pittman. Again, dart throw. That's why they're together. We go down the list. Cortland, Troy is also a dart throw too. Like, I can't tell you which one's probably going to, I assume Cortland's son, but it could also be Troy Franklin. I think that's kind of the hard part about starting Broncos right now or Colts receivers is that notion in of itself. Like I said, Justin Jefferson, DK Metcalf, Cortland Sutton, Devontae Smith. This is another play that this guy could have 0 fantasy points or 20. I don't know. I mean, hopefully he gets something in between for you guys. I don't love it. I don't love him this week, but I also don't hate it. Khalil Shakir should have a bounce back game against Cincinnati. I mean, Khalil Shakir was horrible last week. Cincinnati's a abysmal defense, abysmal pass defense. They're ranked 32nd against the pass. So Khalil Shakir should have a big game. I wouldn't be shocked if Kincaid, who's coming back, has a huge game as well. Jacoby Myers going up against Indianapolis. Like I mentioned, think he has a really good game. He was so good last week, and Indianapolis is one of the worst pass defenses in all of football. I'm going to give Terry McLaurin some love against Minnesota. Terry McLaurin was so good last week, and Dan Quinn literally said after the game they're going to get him the ball more. Lad McConkey, 14 going up against Philadelphia. Love what he brings on a weekly basis. Just missed the top 12, though, on matchup alone. Philly's playing pretty good defense right now. And then I like Marv. I like Marv this week. Marv had 70 yards and a touchdown last week. People were like, is Wilson going to continue to get looks over Marv? Like, nah, it was Marv in McBride. And Jacoby Brissett is doing a good job at that. And the Rams have had a very solid pass defense, 14th, but it's because of their defensive line. Like, their corners are still not that good, in my opinion. But anyways, those are my rankings for the week for running backs and wide receivers. Make sure you're subbing to my YouTube. You can see this full thing on YouTube after. And I'll be doing this every week. So make sure you sub to my YouTube because that's where it'll come out exclusively. I'm not going to be posting videos on the 13 through 30 guys each week. I'll be coming out with a video for my tight end quarterback rankings. It'll be 20, not 30, because, obviously less starters, less players.